I think if anything comes to your mind, say it. If anything comes to my mind, say it. But we also have some prompts. So
I had something that came to mind.
go on.
Well, we were talking before about transformation and transaction, and it was relevant given what we've been doing lately with podcasts, content, coaching, you name it. So why don't we kick off there if you're cool with doing that?
Yeah, I mean, probably the first thing would be is what do you mean by transactional and transformational in, I guess, context?
So transactional, I find, is very logical. It's very factual. Is
this in like a coaching space?
Yeah, so let's go really high level on this. I think transactional very high level is something that is a fact almost. It's something that's a fact. It's a piece of content,
data,
science.
Yeah.
Like we always talk about left side of your brain, so
Yeah.
more of the kind of analytical part of your brain.
Black
So
and white, yes,
black and
no,
white, scientific, mathematical.
Yeah.
I can't go any higher level than that. So
Sure.
really
Yeah.
transactional stuff, right? Red brain transactional stuff. And you got transformational, which is the other side of the brain, which is the more emotional part of the brain. I find transformational is all about, emotions, feelings, empowerment, change, development, becoming different, evolving, evolution.
Yep.
Transformational is about, I suppose, a becoming.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's much more purposeful, much more purpose driven, much more, I suppose, exciting. Like transformational it resonates with more people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it does what it says. It transforms people, because then it's no longer about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most empathetic person in the room, the most understanding, the most compassionate, the most trustworthy, credible, likable.
Yep.
That's when you have true results, is when someone's sitting across from you and they go, I'm going to come down to your level and I'm going to completely understand you, and not trying to be better than you and not trying to hit you up with all this technical data science babble gear.
Yep.
It's like, let's transform you from the ground up.
Absolutely. And I think I want to start with a point here, so everyone watching this understands why these guys talking about transformation and transaction. So I want to give context. For a very long time, I believed that the way to become very successful in life was to sound really good, was to say lots of stuff, was to talk in a very complicated manner, and was to become very, very transactional and very logical.
Yes.
Especially given my credentials and my history came from accounting and tax and numbers, and I was highly skilled at mathematics in high school. You were an A-grade student that you just let me know about, right? We are designed by our environments and by nature to be these, we think we need to be these highly intelligent, highly articulate, overcooked, analytical creatures of transaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guess what? It doesn't work.
No, and I think that comes from one person doing it, then another person doing it, then another person doing it, and it's the way that we grow up. It's honestly, it's what school does. And look, I was thinking about this the other day, because I always put shit on the education system, and I feel like I shouldn't put as much on, because you learn incredible skills. I think I was a straight A student in primary school. Let's get that straight. As soon as high school came around, straight downhill. But I think the schooling system is incredible, but it teaches us to think analytically.
Yes.
It teaches us transaction.
Yes.
It teaches us these things. And when you've got kids who are not only trying to work themselves out, they're trying to fit in, they're trying to be seen, they're trying to feel like they're worthy. The way you grow up thinking that happens is by using the best terminology and being the smartest person and being the wittiest and And that's natural. That goes back to primal days where as men, it's about being strong and being alpha so that you survive longer. And for women, it's a little bit different. They're more tapped into the emotional side, but they're still, in our Western society, they're still trying to fit in, trying to be seen, trying to be smart. And we wear these masks where it's like, oh, well, if I just learn the best things, then it protects me because I'm no longer, I can't be seen for who I really am.
Yep.
And this is getting a little bit deep, but it's like, if I just elevate myself as high as possible, where no one can touch me, then I'll never be challenged. And so no one will ever call me out, but I'll never grow at the same time. And I think that purely is just your insecurities and your limiting beliefs. That's what blocks you from growing, is trying to be the know-it-all that has this mask on. That actually is just not really going anywhere, in a sense. In a sense. And that's me being super harsh. But like, turn it over to the transformational side and imagine learning emotional intelligence. Imagine learning self-awareness, self-love. Like, imagine learning all these things that you can walk into a room and you can read the room and go, I'm here to help. And forget what you look like. Forget the words that you use. Forget anything. It's like change to a full-blown derelict if that's what's going to get people results.
And I think you just said something key there. It's the willingness to help. So many people are stuck in their analytical, transactional state of being or state of mind that they always want to sound good. They always want to speak technical. They've got these insecurities that they don't want to be tapped into. They want to sell, and convince, and sound and look like the best person in the room. And they miss the whole effing point because the whole effing point is you're actually meant to just go and really want to authentically help them to transform simultaneously whilst you're transforming so that they can become better, they can have a better result, they can make more money, and you can do the same simultaneously. But we've got it all wrong. We're so fixated on sounding the best, knowing all the stuff, being overcooked with content that we need to consume before we're good enough, which is people don't buy complexity. They don't buy content. They buy how you make complex stuff simple. They buy how you take lots of content and put it into a simple model. That's what true leadership is, and that's what true transformational success is making things easy for people to become better and transform their position.
And look, there's a couple of points there. Like you said, leadership, that's ultimately what we're talking about here, is to be a leader, to be a business owner, to be a leader in your family. No matter, it doesn't even have to be in business, but let's use business as an example. To be a leader is not to stand on your throne and talk down on people.
No way.
Which funnily enough, coming back to having compassion and understanding for people who are in that position, we've grown up believing that. The movies we watch, our teachers, like stubborn teachers, never want to be wrong. And so we see them, even our parents sometimes, it's like we see them and we see, oh, they're the leaders, they're the authoritative people. So in order for me to do that, I need to do that. And you don't challenge the system.
Agree.
So leadership is getting in the mud, and as Simon Sinek says, being the dumbest person in the room.
With the biggest purpose.
With the biggest purpose, with the biggest reason why.
To help others.
To understand. It's not, you're not sitting there in your insecurities and going, oh man, if I ask this question that is the difference between me getting the answer I want and growing and learning, if I ask, I might look like an idiot. Like I might look dumb. No. Like, and that's a hard thing. That can be a hard thing to overcome for a lot of people, because people are so used to being that perfectly presented, articulated person, but that only gets you so far. The other thing is that when it comes to business, say in your space, the coaching space, or as a leader at all, if you use that transactional articulation or language, and you go, and you're so focused on just being right and just being the best and this and that, you walk away going, I feel pretty good. I sounded good. I looked good. I am happy with how I went. Everyone else, they're just like, I got nothing from that. So what's really going on there?
He sounds great. He even looks great. He knew everything to say. Yeah. He had a perfectly well-presented agenda, but hey, I got nothing out of it. I didn't understand any of it. Yeah. I definitely have not become any better. Yeah. There was no transformational elements for me, and I'm still going to be stuck in the mud next week.
Exactly.
So what do you think? What do you think that guy does? He definitely doesn't provide any referrals.
Sure.
He definitely doesn't get any big results. And guess what you do? Because you looked great and you sounded great, you still don't make any more money.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there's a lot to that. I think in your space as a coach, the people that you're speaking to, simplicity is the answer. Because their number one problem is they make everything complex.
Amen.
Right? In a doctor's surgery, there's probably a chance you can't keep it that simple. But the people there know what you're talking about.
And here's the thing. I watched something about a doctor. So the doctor has to be analytical.
Correct.
They have to be logical. They have to know their procedures. They have to know their processes. Don't undervalue that. Super important. But another part of where the doctor becomes one of the best doctors in the world is when he deeply understands his client, what they really need. Yeah. He has those soft transformative skills to go and what do you need? What do you want? What is in your best interest? I care about you. I want to make sure I get it right. And then he transforms that client through a very hard time by his emotional intelligence and his authenticity, his simplicity and his care factor, because they don't need to know all the logic and all the analytics and all the process. That's his trade. So that happens in the surgery room, okay? The way that he handles his client is exactly the same as me in a transformational way by going, I'll keep it simple, I will keep it emotional, I will be empathetic, which you spoke about before, and I will make this hard time as easy and as simple and as purposeful as possible to get you back to where you need to be and the result that you need to obtain.
Well, and that's a really interesting example that I just thought of was The Good Doctor, which is a show, and it's about this young doctor who is on the spectrum. I think he's got autism.
Yep.
Highly intelligent.
Yes.
Like really, really helps people. Like comes up with the craziest things. So on the doctor's side is one of the best doctors, but on the dealing with client side and understanding people and being a human and the emotional
and
side,
caring,
sucks.
Yep.
Sucks. Like really sucks. So I remember watching this episode and it was literally a 5-minute thing where he discovered this problem in a mum and dad's son. Had this really rare condition. He discovered it, found it then and there and goes, this is a problem, this is what we need to do, this and that. And the mum goes up and goes, thank you so much, but I don't want you performing the surgery. I want this doctor doing it. Because of the way that he understood, but he didn't have that understanding and empathy and couldn't really articulate himself well. So he didn't have the trust of the parents. Even though he found the problem, he just wasn't able to articulate well enough to earn the trust of the parent. And that's so interesting is like you're saying, in a doctor surgery room, your language would be very different to if you're dealing with a client. Because a client just wants to know, will I be safe? Will I be able to walk again? Will I be free of my pain? This and that. That's all they want to know.
And that's so important what you just said, because there's two parts which we spoke about of you, okay, of your brain, of your psyche, which is the transformative emotional green side of the brain, and then there's the other side, which is the logical and the analytical. And you are exactly right, okay? Your clients, your customers, your family, your people, your interactions in life need to be on the emotional side. Always.
Sure.
Simply on the emotional side, on the purpose side.
Yeah.
And then your trade, your understanding of intricate details, your tools and craft in the surgery room can be technical. But you don't need to speak about that. You just need to know that and make sure your team know that. But you need to speak and help and coach and listen and love and learn and all the rest of it with people on the emotional side because that's what people buy.
Yeah.
People buy why you do it.
Yeah.
They buy your care factor.
Yeah.
They buy that you want the best for them and that you're willing to give them the simplest solution or simplest bit of advice that isn't coming from your analytics.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I'm just sitting here just like, why not fire off some examples?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, in the finance game, nothing but numbers, nothing but analytics.
Cool.
So if someone comes into you and goes, hey, look, I have all this money and I've got debts to pay and this and that, and I've got insurances and I've got legal fees, whatever, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's whatever it is. Like, you're not going to sit there and go, okay, well, these are all the moves that we need to make from the perspective of what your staff are going to do. Like, because you'll be there for hours trying to explain this process that they don't even give a shit about. They just want to know that they can make money, or that like there's one goal, there's a financial goal there, and it's like, you understanding that goal, it's like, what's the easiest, simplest way for me to help them understand that, and nothing else matters because we can handle it. They don't need to know it. Like, that's the best way.
Because if I as a financial planner have a client in a tough financial situation, or they've got an emotional situation because something's happened with a family member, or they're just in a lot of debt, or whatever it is, if I sit there in a meeting, which I used to do, okay, for 3 hours, pitching them on how great I was, how great the business was, how they need every bell and whistle under the sun because this is all the stuff I pulled from the textbook, right? And I go bombard. Guess what happens? They get to the end of the meeting and they're like, oh yeah, okay, all right. Their anxiety just went up freaking 500-fold, right? Yeah. They're going to leave like in a very bad state of being. They probably won't use my services because I've just overwhelmed them to the nth degree, okay? And they don't feel comfortable. And what I learnt is what I did in 3 hours, I could very easily do in 30 minutes. And it was do this, right? Hey, how are you going? Look, tell me about what's going on. Give me the context. Tell me your pains. Tell me your issues. Tell me what's happening right now. Tell me about what you believe the solution is. Tell me about what you're looking for. Guess what? The best thing in sales or best thing in communication that any person in the world can do is ask. Just ask freaking questions. It's a really easy thing to do. If you're an introvert, that's cool. Don't speak much. Just go and ask. Yeah. And then when someone feels like you genuinely care, all you've got to do in the remaining 10 minutes of the 30-minute block is go, these are the simplest strategies that I think will get us to where we need to be. And I'm not going to overcomplicate this. I'm not going to overanalyze this. I'm not going to overwhelm you. I'm just going to paint what I think in nice, simple pictures, maybe use a bit of color. Yeah. This is the way we're going to get you to where you need to be, which is the end result. Yeah. And that's all they care about.
So I guess like to summarize what that whole discussion that we had was about, it's purely just about how to be the best salesperson and how to be the best leader. Like that's all it's about. And bringing it back, you summed it up so well. It's like, ask good questions. No matter what position you are, whether you're talking to your team, whether you're talking to your clients, whatever, understand them and give them a fucking simple solution.
And that's important. Don't rock up to a dinner or a family breakfast or a business meeting and sit there and talk logically, transactionally to them and tell them how good you are and how you own all these properties and own all these businesses and you're making all this money and how great you are and talking great jargon terms, because you know what? They don't give a rat's ass.
Nah.
They only care about them.
Yeah.
So when you can put yourself in a deeper position of communication and ask, how are you going? How are things going for you? How could I help you? Is there anything you need from me? Guess what? They like you a hell of a lot more because you're acting in a place of transformation, not transaction.
Yeah.
You've dropped your ego and you've let your purpose and your caring spirit, right? That transformative stuff we've been talking about, take fruition. Right,
Sure.
you will have deeper relationships. More people will want to work with you. You'll keep things simple. You'll be more engaging.
Yeah.
But you'll still be well credentialed at your craft,
Sure.
which is your logical, analytical, technical mind, because you're passionate about it. But you can keep that to a degree to yourself. Okay?
Sure.
You don't need to share that to the world. They're not buying that. They're buying your purpose and your emotion.
And you learn as well. Like imagine you go into a meeting and you're like, all I'm gonna do is show off everyone how good I am. You walk away, you go, okay, still know what I know, got it off my chest. Not only are people either confused, they've bought in out of feeling obliged or pressured or like, oh, this is sort of my only option.
Yep.
Or they've called you out on your bullshit and then you've kind of just crumbled because you actually don't know what you're talking about because you can't break it down in simple terms.
Yep.
And that's half the problem sometimes is people do understand these things, but when you can't break it down simply, it's like, do you really know it?
Yeah.
And I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. But it's what's the result? Like, you got to ask yourself a question. What result in that hour did I get for myself? What result did I get for the client, right?
Yeah.
And you got to ask yourself that with everything you do in life.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting there just doing stuff to fluff up your ego, right? Like whether it's emails, admins, driving around on a Lamborghini, right? Or you're doing stuff just to get likes or loves or appreciation, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're looking for,
Sure.
you're not going to get it. Like, period. If you look good and sound good and you're doing everything just to look pretty, bam, you never crack the code.
Yeah.
That's the schooling system, which was meant to just teach you to know more and learn more, right? But unfortunately, when we grow up as teenagers, we've got all these people that we're looking for approval from.
Sure.
But when you get into your adult years, you need to shift and transform your mind to go, it's going to be about purpose stuff, about how I'm helping me, how I'm helping others to help me, how I'm operating from a deeper system, not trying to look and sound good.
Yeah. And unfortunately too, I think like we were probably fortunate in that growing up, if you didn't come first, second or third in the running race, you didn't get a medal. Now we're in a pretty soft society, and you spoke about this with Dan. Soft society where everyone gets an award. Like, oh, you were there, so I've got to give you something. And it's like, fuck, what is that doing to us? Like, that's really, it's giving no kind of adversity. That's giving no reason to really try. It's like, it's really creating weak people. And coming back to what I was saying before, you said the key word is like, when you go in asking those questions and when you go in and be there for the people, you learn and you get to experience more because you get to understand different people, their pains. So it's market research. It's like, what are people actually thinking about? What do people actually want? Rather than, oh, I think I know what they want, so I'm just going to hit them with a 30-minute presentation. Yeah. It's like, maybe there's something underlying here that they know. So if I just ask the right questions, they can probably work it out themselves. Maybe not in like a financial setting where they don't understand finance and this and that. But in most cases with self-development and business, a lot of the times they know their problem. They just need the right questions for them to think about it in a different way.
That's all it is, man.
To then find the answer.
And it's so true. It's like I said before, drop your ego, drop your analytics, okay? And when you sit there and you ask questions, and you don't need to sound good, right? But you ask the right questions and you can crack through the coding, right? they will start to answer their own questions.
Yeah.
It's ironic. And even if you spent a whole hour coaching someone, only ask questions, and they had epiphanies along the way and insights that you can turn into actions, you've done a remarkable job. And you may have just made them $500,000.
Sure.
Without saying anything but a couple of questions. But we're so quick to try and sound and look and be great by our words and our phrases and our jargon that we've learnt. Keep that shit for yourself.
Yeah.
Ask more
100%.
questions.
Yeah.
Have deeper relationships. Give way more of a shit, right?
Yeah.
And have some serious purpose to help people. And you know what? Back to what you were saying about results. You're going to be one of the most result-generating people out there because they will feel cared. You will create great products that help them, and you will be serving. You won't need to sell. It'll sell itself, and you will make the most money. So you will be one of the top performers because you were more tapped in with your emotions and your purpose and how you wanted to help humanity, not just sounding freaking really good.